Hi, I'm Lynnea.
And I'm Dan.
And this is
Dusted or Busted.
This is kind of part 2 since they had 2 episodes this week. So all of the queens came in after the non-elimination and they were all talking about the results.
We wrote the same thing.
And Courtney says, well, she's talking to Bendela and she goes, I was going to cause a riot if you went home. And Darian's face was priceless.
Because no one is talking to Darian because no one gives a shit if she were to stay. But everyone was just upset that they thought Dela was going to go home.
So they're talking about this whole thing, and they're talking about whatever. And Laganja goes, are you not going to congratulate Adore and I?
No.
One moment it's, I love myself. I'm great. People love me back home, whatever. And then it's, well, aren't you going to tell me how good I am?
Mm-hmm.
Right before RuPaul does the You've Got She-Mail, they're standing around the table, and Laganja goes, okay! And Bianca does this huge eye roll. Now, Laganja calls her out on it, which I will bring that back later when we talk about Untucked. And she goes, listen, you can eye roll all you want, mama. And Bianca goes, I'm not your mama. My name is Bianca. I thought this week's mini challenge was kind of stupid. It was funny.
I thought it was a better mini challenge than most of the other ones. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminded me of last year when they had to do the little cardboard cutout.
Oh, yeah, with the lollipop.
Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn won.
She was my favorite.
And again, this was kind of like the nail challenge. What was the criteria?
I thought Jocelyn's chin looked like her. Like the hair kind of did.
Okay, I didn't know if the goal was for it to look like the queen or to just get through it. I was like, why did they win? Also, something I picked up, because I am all about this Jocelyn versus Courtney thing. That's my new thing. When Jocelyn won, the producers are trying to catch Courtney. Because whenever Jocelyn would say something, or when it was announced that she won the mini challenge, the camera would pan right over to Miss Courtney Act to like see if they could catch her getting spooked or whatever, or throwing shade. Not once. She was perfectly poised and just right along with the other queens. So the main challenge is the comedy, the stand-up comedy. And the first thing that Bianca says is, Hurricane Bianca is in town. No one is safe.
That's what Bianca is most well known for, is her stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. You know who would have been good at this? Kelly Mantle. She also does stand-up comedy.
I have written down so many weird things that people were doing. First of all, Jocelyn is trying to do the lineup, and then Courtney was throwing shade at her about that and being shady, which I didn't think that was such a big deal because Jocelyn's going to do what she wants to do anyway. Bendela was, talking to herself silently.
I was laughing a lot at that, though.
That was funny.
I think she was just, rehearsing because, she gets into her character and she really needs to practice it.
Laganja is sitting under the table.
Can I just say this? When they were all looking around for Laganja, I thought, oh, God, she's out smoking weed. Honest to God, that's what I thought.
She's sitting under the table, talking out loud, with that little no smoking sign from the hotel room.
She stole from the hotel room.
God. She is such a mess. And
then she just needs attention.
Darian was so shady, and Bianca, when she's throwing shade at a door, and she goes, so are you going to write yourself a script or just little note cards that say, cool, awesome, Libra, party, and with all of her little catchphrases. Jocelyn is not funny. We found out this week.
The little oxymoron thing I thought was so cute, though, when she was talking about waiting tables.
Oh, it makes your heart
Jocelyn
hurt.
She lights up my heart. I love Jocelyn Fox.
She may light up your heart, but she lowers your IQ. And then when she's doing her little side thing, and she's like, well, it's just not my cup of soup.
She was still in restaurant mode.
I was disappointed in Trinity during the walkthrough anyway, because she reverted back to that very, I don't know if I can do this. I'm just going to see what happens and put my best foot forward. And it was like, you just did really well in the last episode. What happened?
I think that, when the cameras weren't there, Bianca, took Trinity aside and, helped her out.
And then, at the very end, Ru says, and by the way, your audience will be all senior citizens.
Well, Paul's already a senior citizen. The stand-up comedy, Darian Lake was first, and honestly, we've said this before, we've done our research. And all of the jokes that Darian told, I've heard before. I've heard her say, like, some of them, except for the ones about old people, which she said old people. Now, you don't call old people to their face.
Second up was Miss Courtney Act.
She was kind of funny.
She used a lot of terminology that elders / people who don't do drag wouldn't understand. And then when she put in the song, I thought that was funny. It could have been funnier,
yeah.
But props to her for doing something that is in her wheelhouse. I think she knew that stand-up comedy wasn't going to be her thing, so she's okay with doing something that will play to her strengths and make her safe. Adore.
I thought it was kind of funny in the sense that
it was a
mess.
It was rough. She needed to stop swearing. She just was throwing F-bombs all over the place, and I don't have sensitive ears or anything like that. I just think that that really turns off that audience right off the bat.
The content of her stuff was not relatable to her audience.
No.
Dayla. Now, when Dayla was on stage, that was when I realized, okay, part of the reason that these queens aren't doing well is because they didn't change their routines to suit their audience.
They didn't.
Another part of it was that this audience was just bad. Dayla had a heckler.
Yeah.
That was not classy. Now, if I were in Dayla's situation with her kooky character and the heckler would have yelled at me, I would have just dropped the character in my most butch voice. You ever been beaten up by a drag queen?
Moving on to Laganja. She came out, and I thought she was going to reset some pacemakers. She was yelling and screaming and just too high energy.
Before this whole thing even started, I knew she was going to be the worst. Because in the workroom, all of her jokes were about marijuana.
Just don't talk about marijuana to your grandma. Like, don't do it. And I just felt like her jokes were very tasteless and didn't have any substance. Trinity K. Bonet.
Okay, first of all, before she even started talking, because I was watching with some different friends, and she walks out and was like, oh no, these old people, she's already gotten a disadvantage because she's black and they're racist. And then she comes out and she makes fun of herself for being black. It's like, called it.
Which was so smart because that played to her audience, and now I know some of you are going to say that that's ignorant of us to say that old people don't like black people. We live in the Midwest. She did surprisingly well, and they loved her.
Trinity talked about her grandma, too. Because, she wasn't, making fun of her grandma, but...
Right, it gave them something to connect to. Jocelyn, I felt like her clothes were really tacky.
Her clothes are really tacky.
Yes. Also, you can't swear in front of Grandma and Grandpa, and you can't come out looking like a hooker! There was one guy in the audience who I think enjoyed it, but I mean, it looks not classy at all, and I just thought she did a really poor job. None of her jokes were delivered well, and I thought it was not good. Also, I agree with what the judges said about her lineup. You know Bianca's going to kill it, which we'll talk about her in a second. Why would you put yourself right before her? Because you're going to be completely forgettable.
Cookie. We're keeping this in.
I have ADHD. Oh, look, a cookie. So then we get to Bianca. We knew she was going to kill it. Everybody knew that. And I love that she wasn't all insecure about it. She just did her thing. Her jokes
She was a little bit crass without being over the line. And
her jokes were, she was one of the few who actually did, age-appropriate jokes. And,
my favorite was when she's like, you've been such a good audience that I'm going to put fresh tennis balls on all your walls.
And it's jokes that, poke fun at the audience, but they're not going to be offended.
They didn't really do a runway. They had to just be judged on what they wore. Right. Although I don't think they were really judged
I didn't hate Darian's. She's worn worse.
Has she, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Courtney looked like Wonder Woman. I don't know what that was about. Adore, I didn't like her outfit.
I kind of liked it. I like the color combinations. This is a damn good cookie.
Ben de la Creme.
I like that look.
Yes. Yes, it was another costume, but I liked it.
This is what I wanted to fucking talk about. Michelle motherfucking Visage. First episode says, Dayla you're hiding behind all these costumes. We don't really know who you really are. And so then they talk about it a little bit in Untucked, and then Dela's, thinking about it. And she's a smart queen, so she'll take the criticism. And then this episode, Michelle says, another costume? And Dela goes, not, for the record, not in her character voice, in her normal, everyday voice. And she says, well, I thought this was less costumey, and I wanted to show you something a little bit less costumey. And then Michelle Visage says, I didn't say anything about costumes. I said it's your character. Which one is it?
That's not exactly what she said.
That's pretty damn close to what she said.
She said it's not all about the look. It's about hiding behind a character. But that still goes back to what I said with, she says she only sees them on the runway, but she has worked with Ben de la Creme and other stuff, and she wasn't completely in character then. I know you're upset with her, and I can see why. And especially because if they're going to read Ben de la Creme for always being a character queen, Laganja. If they have an issue with that, then she should have gone home a long time ago. And Laganja, I wrote down next.
I
hated that look. It was not polished. And when they were on the runway, she would not shut up. She is so insecure. Adore was also crying on the runway. What was going on there? And I loved it when RuPaul just said, listen, I'm here to give you criticism to make you better, and I am not going to steer you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Trinity K. Bonet.
I like that look.
I liked it, but I wasn't wowed by it.
It would be really relatable to old people.
Yeah, I suppose. I hated it when RuPaul was crying over her.
Yeah, that seemed really out of place. Like, I'm proud of Trinity, but
I am too, but I'm not that proud of her. And he was just so over the top emotional about you've just come so far and whatever. Trinity keeps flip-flopping. She does really well on the last episode, and then she comes to the workroom all insecure again, and then she pulls it out. So I kind of want to see if Rue's opinion changes when in the next challenge she's going to be insecure about it again, because she just keeps going back and forth.
I think Trinity's actually going to apply herself really well in the next one.
I hope so.
She's got RuPaul's approval, too.
Because if not, she's wasting my time.
Also, how did we get from talking about the looks to this?
Well, because I wrote it down. So let's get back to the looks.
You even remember Jocelyn's?
It was the, triangles that were dripping off her in, the new
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Again, I liked the outfit, but not for this challenge. And it looked kind of cheap, I will say that.
And Bianca.
I loved the outfit. I did. I thought it suited a comedy challenge well. Yeah, I loved those colors on her, and of course, they're always tailored perfectly to her body. My most dusted on the runway, I'm going to say Bianca, because there weren't any other. I always say her.
I know you do.
But there weren't a lot of other ones that would compete with it that were very glamour. I don't know. I thought that
the look was kind of understated this week anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't really about that. So
my favorite look, or my least favorite look, I bet you're going to agree with me here, was Laganja.
Yes.
It was just so
cotton
inappropriate.
Candy hair and yeah, it was. It was inappropriate. That's a good way to put it.
I feel like old people will see that and think a clown.
Bianca won the whole thing, of course. And then it was Laganja versus Jocelyn in the bottom two. And that very special moment in the universe where the planets aligned and they dropped into the splits.
Same moment.
At the same time.
I love that.
That was magic. I thought that Jocelyn doing the splits was perfect because it shows Laganja that it's going to take more than a simple dance trick to throw me.
I know if you watch one performance of it, it's really, really good.
But it's the same thing
But it's the same thing over and over again. It's nothing more than dance.
Jocelyn made it about leading the dance up until that point because that was like a huge point in the song. So she had a little bit more edge there because it was unexpected.
Jocelyn's performance was better because I think she was channeling her inner stupid girl.
And then when Laganja gets sent home and she goes, I will be the first queen to officially chasse away.
You mean sashay away?
Untucked. I would like to read 3 statements from Laganja that happened in Untucked that are false. 1. I had no idea that the girls were annoyed with me. Now remember when I said at the very beginning, Bianca did that eye roll and was like, I'm not your mama, my name is Bianca. Laganja called her out on it and said, "Don't roll your eyes at me, you may not like that." So yes, she did know that the girls don't like her character. 2, oh, the voice thing is new to me. I don't know that I do that voice.
Bullshit.
Lastly, and the most important of all these, I appreciate your honesty. And it's just like Bianca said. She's on the runway. She gets criticism. Yes, absolutely. I will completely apply that to the next challenge, whatever. As soon as she gets back there, she's bitching about the judges and they don't know what they're talking about. She's not going to change for anybody.
Can I just note that less than 2 minutes into Untucked, she starts crying.
They were moving to the next room and Adore says something about like, "Oh, I don't even have a waist cincher on right now." And Darian goes, "Yeah, we can tell."
I didn't even catch that.
Darian is reading Adore Delano for not wearing a waist cincher. They're in the Untucked lounge. And Bianca's whole segment starts out with like a little side interview thing. And she goes, "I know that this wasn't the best time to bring it up, but it had to be said." They cut to actually Untucked. And she goes, "Listen, when you got that lovely message from your parents, and you got mad at me because you said that you had been waiting for 20-some years of your life to hear that approval. And I had thought that it was because you were gay. And so I apologized to you, and I was really sincere about it. And then later you said that they were completely fine with you being gay. It was just the whole drag thing that they had an issue with. Well, I did the math. You've been doing drag for 2 years. And you told me that I took away a moment that you'd been waiting 20-some years of your life for. Which is it?" And caught her right in her lie.
Which she, blew completely out of proportion.
She threw a tantrum. Like, it was like watching a child. And one of my favorite lines from Untucked is Laganja, she throws a tantrum, she gets up and she leaves, right? And you can hear her, pounding and screaming and yelling from the other room. And everyone's being really quiet. And Courtney very calmly goes, "I don't know if we handled that in the best way."
In season 2... Raven and Morgan McMichaels were really, really close. And then when Morgan got eliminated, Raven said, "Well, now I'm finally, free to pursue what I want to do in this competition. I don't have to, babysit Morgan." I think Adore's going to do so much better now.
Yeah, now that Laganja's gone. My most dusted of the week would have to be Bianca.
Same here.
Which I say every time. But she did such a nice job, and I love that on the one hand, she can pull someone up and help them out, and on the other hand, she will call someone out if they are not pulling their weight and are blaming other people or other things for their issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to see both sides of her. She nailed the challenge. Her looks were, well, I guess I only did one look. Her look was amazing.
Mine was Bianca.
Okay. And then my most busted of the week.
Laganja.
I don't even think we need to say why. It was Laganja. I'm going to do my shade list now.
Okay. I'll just let you have at it.
Well, it's Laganja. That's my shade list. But she's gone. And I guess Darian could also be on my shade list. I'm hoping that she gets her moment soon where she'll be in the Untucked lounge and everyone starts reading her for being so rude.
I think the old people are on my shade list. That was just a horrible audience.
There's that. The lady knitting and the heckler. They're on my shade list as well. I don't have any predictions because I didn't watch the next 2 minutes.
I didn't either.
Sorry.
I guess
they gave us 3 hours of material to work with, so I didn't watch the next 10 minutes.
I guess if I had to pick, I'm going to say Darian and Trinity in the bottom 2 because I'm just tired of them.
Yes.
Maybe Courtney or Jocelyn.
Trinity has come a long way, but I don't want people to have to keep reassuring her of her place. Let's do top 3. I'm going to say Bianca, Adore, Courtney.
I'm going to say Bianca, Adore, and Dayla.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was between Dayla and Adore because they're starting to say that Vendela is all costumey, and that's what kept her off my list. Adore could use some polishing too, but like you said, with Laganja gone, I think she's going to do better.
I think Courtney's just going to keep falling into the middle, and they're not going to keep allowing her to do that. Because I feel like a lot of the times, someone can do okay in the challenge, but then they're going to say, well, you're not doing well enough, so you're automatically going to prove that you have to be here.
Yes. So that was this week's episode of Dusted or Busted for the 8th episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. This week, our fallen queen is Laganja Estranja, and we have a little drink in honor of her. It's a little bit of a take on the Tequila Sunrise. So we're gonna take 1 ounce of Familia Camarena tequila. We're gonna use some grapefruit juice. We're gonna fill up the rest of the glass about halfway full. And now we're gonna add a little bit of orange juice. And the last thing we're gonna do, if you've ever seen a tequila sunrise, although now that I'm looking at the color of this, I think it might not work. What you do is that you take a spoon of grenadine, and you pour some grenadine into the spoon. In honor of Laganja's tears, we're just gonna add a little bit of salt. And by the way, we never try these drinks before we film them. We just shoot it and go.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching.